Hello and welcome back to Ollie Talks Airsoft. We're back onto airsoft stuff, thank goodness. One of the things that I have picked up recently is something which is unanticipated. Nobody really cares about this, but I picked one up anyway. We are, of course, talking about the Tokyo Marui Glock 17 Gen 5. Tokyo Marui started with the Gen 3. They then, a couple of years ago, came out with some Gen 4s, and also when they came out with the Gen 3 19, that was the same kind of engine that they put into the Gen 4s. What we saw when they came from Gen 3 to Gen 4 was a massive improvement in the blowback performance. And all of a sudden, we were getting sort of like twice the blowback, twice the recoil out of our plastic slided TM guns, and also a couple of like very basic cosmetic changes, but nothing really to write home about, which is why no one really cared about the Gen 5 Glock. We're like, well, they've done the updates, unless what you don't want the finger grooves, you know, on here, or maybe you want to directly mount an MOS sight. Like, unless you really want those things, why would you bother with this? Well, there are a couple of things that TM have done to this which really set it apart, and in my opinion, this is now one of the best Tokyo Marui pistols out there. Let's talk about it, because I'm genuinely excited about this. You've got a bunch of other back straps, so you do have ones with like more of a beaver tail at the back, and you've got ones without. Personally, like, for me, this is actually, it's fine as it is. I don't really want any of these other accoutrements on it. Like, I don't need the extra back straps. I've got pretty like standard sized hands. I wear like a medium mechanics glove. Sometimes I can just about fit into a small, but normally just a medium, so you can see roughly where I am on the pistol itself. Don't have giant bare claws or anything like that. You get the normal little box of TM goodies in here. One of the things that is always included is a couple of dry fire adapters, but because this is an MOS, they do also give you the mounting screws should you want to put one of the Tokyo Marui dedicated like pistol optics on here as well. You've also got a mounting plate in here, and you've got another pin, and that'll be for the back straps. So it's the pin that basically goes through here. I don't need any of those bits, so we're just going to put all that to one side. As always with TM, if you want to use these BBs, go ahead and use them. They're really high quality. It's the ones that have a seam around them that you've really got to watch out for. Let's take a closer look at this, and let's see why I have got such a grin on my face about this particular TM introduction. First off, they went with the orange, which is the same as the Glock Gen 5s, which I think is actually, it's pretty cool. In here, this is the dry fire adapter, so you can see the actual followers not being pushed up. What that means is I can shoot this without any BBs in there. So this is obviously for YouTube, by the way, this is an airsoft gun, this is not real. Most dangerous thing about it is if you probably drop the mag on your foot, to be honest. But what we have on here is we have some really nice markings. They've gone with the same traditional design of having knocker valve at the back, and the fill valve is at the bottom, but it's hidden. So if you pull this down here and you slide that along, that is your gas fill valve. It's nice because it means that if you drop this in the mud, you're not going to get loads of dirt into the fill valve like you did with the previous iterations. That's a nice little subtle upgrade that they've done. You'll notice on here again, the router is curved. So this mag will actually perform perfectly well with the Gen 4s, the Gen 3s, and all of your previous iterations of Glock. The difference is that they advertise that this holds 20% more gas, or it's at least 20% more gas efficient. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on that, but at the moment we're just talking about some of the big features that really set this Gen 5 apart from every other Glock that's been produced so far. Let's have a quick look at the pistol itself. Again, all made of plastic. They've gone with a really nice two-tone here. It really strikes you when you open the box that it's almost like a greyish slide that you've got, and more of a kind of black frame. You'll notice that we've got some slide serrations at the front, we've also got slide serrations at the rear, and obviously on top you've got the 2 screw holes here. You can remove this plate and you can directly attach your mounted optic, so your slide mounted optic. Very, very cool. You'll also notice that we have a slide release on both the left and the right hand side. So this is the first Glock which is truly kind of like lefty friendly. We've got a Gen 4 style mag release, but this mag release isn't the same as the other mag releases that we've seen. It actually stops, it will only press through a very small amount. And what that does is, it means that when you are ejecting the mag, it doesn't feel as squishy. It feels way more affirmative on getting the mag out of the gun. Not that it's ever been a particular problem, but certainly on my WE, you can actually push this almost all the way through, and in a hurry, sometimes I've pushed it a bit too hard and it's actually got caught behind the inner frame. So they've done a little bit of work on the inside here to mean that this mag release is more, it's more just like a direct button. I believe this is reversible, but I'm actually not going to be reversing it, and I think most people are kind of used to how Glocks work, so I doubt many people are going to do that. The front of the trigger no longer has any grooves on it, so it's actually completely smooth now, and hopefully you can see that. Also the markings on here, again, really pretty nice. So I think the markings on here look great. You obviously have your Tokyo Marui markings down here on the bottom of the grip, but everywhere else they've really made an effort to kind of make this look the part. One thing that everyone complains about, why does the slide stop about halfway? It doesn't anymore. So what they've done is they've actually changed the sear arrangement in the back here. So this has been completely revamped and it no longer catches halfway. What it means is we now have one of the smoothest cycling actions out there. So no longer do you get the hang up that you would normally get, that everybody complains about, and that basically everyone that has copied that original Tokyo Marui design has had exactly the same problem. So what I'll do is I will grab a couple more TM Glocks. So I've got an 18 here, and so bone stock Gen 3 18C. You know this is so cool. So it's not loaded. I will do a quick chamber check. There is nothing in the chamber, but these things, if you know, you know. So cool. But that is what I'm talking about right there, where it wants to get a little bit hung up, wants to get a little bit caught. I'm quite lucky this Glock is relatively new, so it's not getting too hung up. Let's have a quick look at this one as well. So this is the 19, again, Gen 3. Only thing is, this has obviously got a Guns Modify slide. It's got a 5KU brake on there. So, but again, there you go. It's a bit more used, this one, so it actually wants to kind of stop in that position. That's a huge complaint that loads of people had. It doesn't really affect the actual shooting of it, so still snappy, still absolutely great to shoot. Now let's just quickly compare it to this one. That is a whole different animal, let me tell you. So despite the fact that this TM19 is got the slide is shorter, which will make it lighter, but it is alu. So all in all, this is a bit more moving mass and a bit more moving weight. And it's kind of almost an identical blowback engine. And if you have a look in the back here, you can see, again, almost identical, but not quite. And those differences really translate when it comes to the shooting experience. So I looked back and I realized that that wasn't quite good enough. So here is a little bit of extra testing that I did, and extra looking at the insides of some of the Gen 3, Gen 4 and Gen 5 Glocks. So let's take a look at a few of the different generations of Glock lowers that you get from Tokyo Marui. I'm quite lucky to have quite a few of them here. We'll start off, this one is the 18, so we're going to basically ignore this one. It's got a slightly different sear arrangement here for the full auto, but you can see the frame is the same as a standard 17, so we'll just put that to the side for a moment. So this was the arrangement of the original Tokyo Marui Glock 17, and it was essentially copied by Garda, and this is the Garda complete lower. So you can see there's a few kind of subtle differences, but ultimately again all the same features, works in exactly the same way. So again, we'll just put that to one side. Here we've now got a Gen 3. This is also a Gen 3, however it's the Glock 19, so it has all of the enhancements that they bought with the Gen 4s, apart from the look of it obviously. And here we have the brand new Gen 5. Then hopefully you'll be able to see there are actually quite a few differences. So you'll see actually at the front here, it's all slightly different. I'm not entirely sure how much of a difference is between, obviously because I don't have a Gen 4 Glock 17, so I'm not entirely comparing like with like, but you can see that we've actually got a few differences further up as well. Other than me not being entirely sure about that, you can see that the actual internals here are basically the same. You'll notice the bit that actually locks the barrel is different on this one though, on the new Gen 5. Also the fact that they've gone with much shorter, like smaller kind of wings. These ones, as you can see, they've taken a bit of a beating. Just coming back to like the hammer arrangement here, as you can see they've both got wheels on, pretty standard hammer arrangement. So if I just drop the hammer on that one and on that one, and then we can have a look at the slightly different arrangement that we've got on the Gen 5. So as you can see, we've like the disconnectors and everything, it's different on this Gen 5, so it's in a different position. So we'll have a look at the uppers in a moment. The hammer, which will then push down, and then this part will reset your valve knocker. So you can see we have got some differences there. I think most importantly, we can see in the shape that we've gone with here. So this kind of like pivoting design rather than just a wheel. And again, in here we can see that we've kind of going back forward, looking a little bit more at the Gen 5. You can see this is much larger for the slide catch here, and we've got a spring here that you can hopefully see. The spring holding this is very weak. This one is a little bit more affirmative. You'll notice there are a few changes. So you have that nub here, we don't have that anymore. And also if we actually look inside, hopefully you'll be able to see inside the magwell a much beefier set of springs in the Gen 5. So you can see here I was actually a little bit wrong with regard to the size of the blowback housing, and that definitely kind of comes across. You definitely notice that. But what we should also have a look at here is the slide for the 18 as well. Ultimately, this one here and this one here both have a flat top on them, and that is because this one has this cutout here, and obviously this one you can barely tell, but it's obviously you can mount an optic on there. But actually they have beefed it up, and instead of going with the single screw, they've gone with 2 screws at the back here. On this one we've got some internal reinforcement, so no problems. Basically, yeah, slightly longer housing. I don't know what the internal volume is compared to sort of previous generations. This is playing a big part, and when combined with the hammer, it's, yeah, a massive improvement. You can see, you know, just from sort of where some of the cutouts and the shapes of them, that they're probably not going to be backwards compatible, unfortunately, but all of the mags are, so that's a bonus. The trigger. So the wall and the take up on this, it literally brings you right up to the wall, click. So smooth, so crisp. Let's check the reset on that. This you're going to find unbelievable. See that? That's about 2 mil. Wow, that is pretty unheard of. So let's just compare that. So not as affirmative, not as bit longer, just not as good, just not as affirmative. And let's go back to one of the original designs here on the 18, make sure it's on semi. Again, take up pretty similar, not quite as smooth, but click. And again, we've probably got 5 or 6 mil of movement there. But you know what? Not the worst trigger pull. But honestly, when you compare it to this one, and this basically, what it translates to is, it just feels unbelievably good to shoot. So next up, why don't we actually test what the trigger pull is on these, because I've actually got a trigger pull gauge. So first up, we're going to go with a Glock 17, although this is obviously a 34, but it's an original Gen 3 lower. So let's set this, and what we'll do is we'll do the best of 3. Try and do this as straight as possible. 1 pound 11 ounces. 1 pound 11 ounces. 1 pound 13. So that's going to average out at like 112. This is a Gen 4, well, or Gen 3, but Gen 4 kind of internals. 2 pounds 3. 2 pounds 3. That's 2.44. So that's going to average again about 2.3 really. Okay, and now for the one that we've all been waiting for, the trigger that we're all saying is really nice, or that certainly I'm saying is really nice. 3.5 pound. 3 pound 8 ounces. 3 pound 14. I'm going to do a couple more, because it feels much more consistent than that when I'm actually shooting it. 3 pounds 12. 3.7. This is really interesting. Let's just go back. I know this is like steel slide and everything like that, I get that. But let's just check this again. So to the wall, that's like £1. Then 1 pound 11, yeah. About £1 to the wall. Oh, that just went up to 2, but I think it's because it wibbled. I was concentrating on the gauge rather than focusing on what I'm doing. Yeah, 113. The brake on this one is binding up, which is very annoying. That's like £1.1 to the wall. 2.3 pound. 1.2 to the wall. 2.2 pounds. 2.48. Back to Gen 5 just to double check. Yeah, 1.7 to the wall. That's a 4.5. 3.9, and again about 1.7 to get you to that wall. Yeah, it's inconsistent. 3.5, 4 pound trigger pull and 1.7 to the wall. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. As far as the performance goes, like I can say without a shadow of a doubt, it's a standard TM pistol. As I've said before, pretty much every single TM pistol is going to shoot almost exactly the same as every other TM pistol. There is no real big difference. However, we can pop some 0.2 gram BBs through this, and just see exactly what it's doing, because why not? I love a bit of shooting. Let's set this up in a nice safe direction. Get my goggles on. Just drop the dry fire adapter out. If you've never used one of these dry fire adapters as well, they're really handy, and they're really good for practicing at home, because otherwise you get into the bad habit of holding down the slide lock, because you want to kind of, without it you would end up just either shooting like this all the time, or you hold it down. That's creating bad habits. You don't want to be doing that, because in game, if you've built that habit, you'll be holding it down and you'll be dry firing at someone, your mag will be empty and the gun will still be cycling. You don't want that. That's a bad day for everyone. So we'll take that out for the time being. We'll pop in what I believe to be some .2s. We will soon find out, because the chrono will tell me, because I'll be able to see in the numbers. What we're looking for here, we're using green gas. So I fired a few shots out of it. I'm expecting like 280s, 290s on the FPS here. 289.5. Slap bang, exactly basically where I'm expecting for this. Again, it's a TM pistol. I'm running it on green gas. I don't think that there's any problem with doing that. I've never had a big issue with doing it in the past. Oh, it just feels so good. 289, 280, 270, 270. We're dropping off pretty quickly. And we're down to 250. Okay, let me, oh, the mag is a bit cold. I was playing with this a little bit beforehand, because it's so nice to shoot, and I was getting a bit excited. I really wanted to stop making videos about cancer and start making videos about airsoft guns again. Okay, topped back up, double check. One in the chamber. Okay, back up. Boom, 302, that's what we're talking. 300, timeout. I somehow managed to hit something over there. 294, 297. This thing just, oh wow. It feels so unbelievably good to shoot. That is what it's all about, guys. And I know that the temptation with these is always gonna be, let's put on a metal slide, let's get it as heavy as possible. But I implore you, get one of these, run it stock, you will not regret it. It kicks better than this metal slided 19, and this should kick great, because it's got a slightly shorter slide, which means that more power is going into a lighter kind of shorter slide, but it's got that extra weight in it. It should mean that this should be kicking harder. It just doesn't. It just doesn't feel as satisfying, and hopefully you can hear that. One thing I haven't done yet is put the Gen 5 mag into the 18. Let's check the full auto rate of fire. Come on, why not? Like, we've got an 18 here. You don't often see a stock TM 18. I happen to have one. I'm not planning on doing anything with it, because with an 18, it's all about that full auto performance. And you don't want to end up sacrificing that full auto performance by putting on a metal slide. It acts as a heat shrink. It just ain't as good. It just ain't as good. I'm sorry. Gen 5 mag, original Glock 18. This one's gonna be fun. Oh, I'm such a geek for this. I love it. Whoa, that's so cool. Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, that's amazing. We are talking 21.89 rounds per second. It said the last shot out of there was 170 FPS. I have a feeling that if I was to just pop in maybe one more BB, I do just have one more in there. I reckon if I was to fire this through, we will see a rather more normal FPS of like 280s. 280, bang on, called it. So yeah, I think I hit the inside of the chrono because this whole thing was just shaking about all over the place. If you are looking to get a new pistol, I thoroughly recommend the new Gen 5. It wasn't even particularly on my radar, but you guys out there in the community have given me the opportunity to pick up a couple of things to review and talk about that I wouldn't maybe normally have picked up. This was one of them. I wasn't particularly excited for a Gen 5 Glock. I thought with the increases to the recoil and performance that we saw with Gen 4, I was like, what else can they do? To be honest, the trigger on this being so crisp and so smooth, and the fact that there is no slide hang up, the blowback action on this pistol is incredible. It's like nothing else. So if you get a chance to shoot one, go to your local retailer, or if you see me out, next time I'm out playing, I am definitely going to have this on my hip. It's a fantastic bit of kit, and I've had a lot of TM pistols. I've had a lot of other brand pistols as well, and this one is cutting the mustard. There we go. That's my thoughts on it. A little bit of kind of data about it. We've finally got the Glock that we've always wanted from TM, and it is the Gen 5. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it, as always, and hopefully I will see you on the next video, guys. Take care.